Jamie King, faculty at Neumont University, sitting with Alum Howard Brown. How are you doing?
I'm alive and well.
Are you? Where are you living?
I'm living in Florida, just south of Tampa.
And when did you graduate from Neumont?
December of 2008. It was almost 2009, so 5 years.
Okay, good enough. So you graduate. What have you been doing for the last 5 years?
Oh man, I worked for a software company, a DoD contracting company that did flight scheduling software for the Air Force. I did that for 3 years, 2 months. And that's when I learned a lot of skills for TFS administration, which is Team Foundation Server. And the contract was having a little bit of issues, so I found a new job down in St. Petersburg, Florida, just southwest of Tampa, as a Team Foundation Server architect, release manager, configuration manager, basically jack of all trades, Mr. Fix-It.
And you did well, I presume. They liked you.
Oh yes, yeah, very well. I got a significant pay increase. I converted them over from cruisecontrol.net to Team Foundation Build, and they're huge. It's insane. Even Microsoft has never heard of how many servers they run for builds and how many builds they have and setting up their environments and stuff.
How did Neumont prepare you for what you're doing now in industry?
Neumont was tough, but it taught me more than I ever thought I would learn. It was definitely the fire hose approach. And there was a lot of hands-on study sessions. I decided that the only way I'm going to get the education I want is to sit front row center and ask lots of questions.
Hey, you came to Neumont as an adult. You had kids before you came. You're kind of an unusual case. We do get adults, but a lot more high school graduates. Talk about how you met that challenge, how you were able to balance work with school.
I would do it again. I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I've always been fairly smart. I was the smart kid in high school. I slept through class and got A's and B's, and I was just bored with it. However, I got a girl pregnant. I had a family at an early age. I was married. I had 2 children. I jumped from job to job trying to make ends meet. I had food stamps. I had housing assistance. I ended up getting divorced. A lot of things happened to me. I became a correctional officer for 4 years. I decided that just wasn't for me. You know, I don't want to potentially die every time I go to work. And I work with the scourge of the earth. So I went to college for electrical engineering. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I gravitated towards math and science. And I went for 3.5 years to try and get a two-year AA. It was just so slow, you know, working full-time, school half-time, family on the side. It was tough. I actually read about Neumont in Forbes magazine, and I liked the pitch. 2 years, 4-year degree, $60,000. And I said, I don't care if it's underwater basket weaving. I'm ready. I like computers. I can do it. So it was actually a funny story. I ended up communicating with the recruiter, and I ended up getting accepted before I told my wife at all. So I told
That's
her,
dangerous, Howard.
I told her, hey, babe, I got accepted to a university. And she was like, oh, really? And ended up moving across country. Listen, I packed my whole life into a 16-foot Penske truck. And I'm here to tell you, everything was in it. My oldest son was in it. My wife was in it. I was in it. And it was scary. It took me 5 days to cross the country. And I moved into an apartment I had never seen. I signed the lease. I got the keys and said, where is it? I've never even seen it. It doesn't matter. The degree matters. Nothing but the degree. So even I couldn't live in student housing with a family. I had to pay rent on the side. I delivered pizzas. I waited tables.
While you were a student?
While I was a student. There's only 2 quarters I didn't work a job, and that was the first and third, I believe. It was intense. Funny story is I failed C# the first time I took it. I didn't get it. I didn't understand how method calls works and method signatures. And I had a come to Jesus moment where it was, you know, what am I going to do? Am I going to give up with my tail between my legs and go home? Or am I going to suck it up and make this happen? And a funny thing happened to me over the 3-week break. Something just clicked. I just woke up one day and I was like, I get it. I get how methods work. And I opened the laptop and I tried it out and I went through the debugger and I was like, this is awesome. And ever since then, it didn't matter. You know, .NET 1, .NET 2, didn't matter. WCF services, I got it.
It was an intense sacrifice, but now you're reaping the rewards of your effort.
It changed my whole family tree. It changed everything.
How about your wife? After all this, what was she thinking?
Well, she married a boy because I'm a local boy and I wasn't in the military. I wasn't going to move. And 3 months after we married, we're moving. So it gave us an opportunity. It's funny, when you move, you can be whoever you want to be. You can choose to be the best version of yourself, and you can fake it till you make it, right? When I got the job at American Express, I was not a team foundation server architect. I was not a release manager. I was a smart guy that had some knowledge that talked my way into the job. And when I got in there, I had to make it happen. It was Neumont all over again. I was hitting the books. I was studying at night. I was taking tutorials. I was watching videos, and I did it. I am a team foundation server architect now, but I wasn't 2 years ago.
So wait a minute. You're telling me you had to learn something after graduation?
Every day. Every day. Even today, I learned something.
So how did Neumont help you learn how to learn?
I had to wrestle with it, Jamie. I had to fight it. There was so many things I didn't know, but slowly but surely I would say, well, I know how this piece works. I now understand the page life cycle. I now understand that at what phase which piece happens. I learned how to use .NET Reflector. I could debug remote code. I could attach to process. Even though I was not in your advanced C# class, I got notes from Antoine Alphonse, Tony. I got to read over his stuff and looked at some of that stuff on the side. I started dabbling in threading. Things that I found interesting, like Cyclops Media Remote, I worked at over the break. It was my baby. I wanted to make it better. It was never good enough. And one of the secrets I'll tell any student, whenever you get an assignment, start on it immediately. You will get stuck. You will need help. You have to ask questions. You have to ask for help. But if you start it early, you have all that time to slowly work on it. A good night's sleep makes a huge difference. You'll wake up and go, I didn't try these 2 things. Let me try those. Crap, they didn't work. Dang it. Let me go ask somebody. And sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. It'll come to you.
So I'm a student. I graduate in a month. I already got my job. I accepted it. What advice can you give me?
Learn everything you can. Soak it up. And I had instructors tell me, your first couple of years you want to jump job to job because that's how you're going to get the biggest pay increases, but that's also how you're going to learn. Don't get in a rut. If you ever go to work and you're bored, you're doing something wrong. When you help lift other people up, you look good. You don't have to be the savior and do it all yourself. And give credit to other people. Even if you did most of the work, give credit, because when you teach your people well, they will respect you and they will follow you.
That's good advice. Well, appreciate you doing this interview with us. I love seeing you alumni go out there and kill it. It's interesting putting together the list of people I want to interview, and it's like every single alumni, and I just can't. There's so many alumni out there, I can't keep up with them. But it's awesome to get insights into everybody's lives and see where they end up and how they're doing after graduation. So I appreciate your time.
Going to Neumont and going to that upper echelon where everyone's smart, everyone's driven, everyone is succeeding at life. You know, you can get the American dream. All I ever wanted was a nice house with a white picket fence with some green grass. And I have got so much more than that. It's so fulfilling.
That's good to hear. Well, I appreciate it, Howard. We'll keep in touch and come visit the campus when you come back in Salt Lake.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I look
see
forward
ya.
to it.